May 27th, 1813. The British forces set out late and arrived off Sackets Harbor's coast early the next morning. The wind was almost non-existent, which made it very difficult for them to maneuver close to shore. By midday, the British troops started to row ashore. Then somebody spotted unknown sails off in the distance. They turned around and went back to their ships. They were worried it could have been Chauncey's fleet. The distant sails proved to be flat-bottomed boats that were carrying troops from the 9th and 21st U.S. Regiments of Infantry from Oswego to Sackets. They were unprepared and unarmed. The British knew that, and they intercepted. The British opened fire on the Americans, who were mostly new recruits, and they hastily landed their boats and ran into the forest. Can't blame them. They were pursued, and about half an hour later, they lost about 35 men. The troops that survived went back to their boats and raised the white flag. 115 men and officers surrendered. Only 7 of those American troops escaped and reached Sackets Harbor. While this was transpiring, it gave Sackets time to bolster their defenses. There was already 400 regulars that were stationed in Sackets, mostly small detachments manning Fort Volunteer and Fort Tompkins at the harbor entrance. The senior regular officer at the time was Lieutenant Colonel Backus. Already present was 250 volunteers from the New York militia. There was a call out for more men. An additional 500 militia made it to Sackets quite quickly. Brigadier General Jacob Brown of the New York State Militia took command of all troops at Sackets. Since the first battle in 1812, they had worked on making blockhouses south of the village, along with some earthworks that surrounded the town and the shipyard. There was also 2 schooners, the Fair American and the Pert, that were anchored at Blackwater Creek, just around the bend. The next morning on May 29th, Prevost resumed the attack. The British troops landed on Horse Island, south of the town, under fire from 2 6-pounders and the 32-pound cannon that was firing long range from Fort Tompkins. The British lost several men in the boats, but they made it and landed, and the volunteers had to withdraw. Once the landing force was fully assembled, they charged across the flooded causeway, linking the island to the shore. Even though they were easy pickings at that point, the American militia fled, abandoning their cannons. Stay tuned for part 4.